Hi, good morning everybody. This is Nicholas Teo from CMC Markets here in Singapore on the 13th of July. A few things to actually talk about this morning. While we saw over the weekend, still no real resolution has come up from Greece and the Euro Centre. And I think deadlines are being pushed and cans are ultimately being kicked down the road. Another deadline which has failed to reach an agreement is actually the Iran nuclear agreement. However, as we just noticed, there are reports that suggest that a deal has actually been reached in principle. All that needs to be worked out now are technical issues and the paperwork. Now let's take a look at crude. In this case, let's look at the WTI cash. We've seen this break after it broke down from the 57 sort of level. We've seen it come all the way down here and finding a little bit of support here at around 51 and around 51.8, about 52 or so. Now this represents ultimately the 50% retracement that we have seen crude retracing after this huge move that we saw happening from the end of May all the way up to rather end of or middle of March all the way to the beginning of May. This consolidation I think is going to be quite key. Obviously what's going to happen next is possibly news from that resolution. We see a firm news come out, we may see this level being tested, the next support being around down here around the 49.5 level or so. Alternatively, if no deal has been reached, we may see this thing take a little bit of bounce up. Again, the resistance for that bounce, if anything, the first immediate resistance will be around the $54 or so level. Another thing I want to draw your attention to is also the Aussie dollar. There will be some key announcements coming from China today, mainly related to the trade numbers. They should be out anytime now. I mean, we've got them reported at about 8 a.m. But essentially these trade numbers for China usually come out through the day, along the day. Now, the numbers here, a good or bad number here, may have bearings on the Aussie dollar. Seeing how Australia remains a huge trading partner, and China in the past has also been actually buying quite a bit of the resources where Australia is concerned. Looking at this again, I mean, we've seen the Aussie, I think early last week or late last week or the week before, break down this very strong support of around 76 level for that's been in place for the last 4-5 months or so. We're seeing it testing its first support level of around 74. This support has been stemmed from the fact that this loop here is basically flipped over down to represent that support. So essentially, first degree resistance, first degree support. Likewise, first degree resistance, which is the high here, second degree support, or second degree resistance, second degree support. Now this remains quite a strong support. As always, we're looking for triggers that could move this either back up after, I mean, to retest this 76 level, which had been a very strong support, now becomes key resistance. Or likewise, if this thing continues to break down, I mean, on a weak number, for example, from China or somewhere else, we could see this thing, coming back down on here quite fast. So again, a lot of these stocks and a lot of these products are at sort of key levels down here after having fast moves, and it's something I think which will continue to grip the markets. I'm also, as you may have gathered, watching some of the commodity front. Wheat, for example, has consolidated for some time, has been consolidating for some time, this huge move. I'm looking for triggers to actually excite it again on the way up. And likewise, soybean. We saw certain moves come up from the US inventory numbers, which wasn't really that exciting, but still there are people who are willing to believe that some of these grain commodities anyway have seen actually recent lows and finding more adventure actually heading up. We're seeing like the 50-day MA and the 50-day MA here, the 200-day MA here, sort of turning up. So few stories actually that may be worth following otherwise on this otherwise slow day. China, as always, has just opened and remains volatile. We're seeing the very early down 200 points on the A50s July contracts, but it's still early days. I think the market has to actually digest the huge moves that we have seen on the downside and the big rebound that we have seen in the last couple of days or so. What would be ideal is a period of flatlining. But maybe we may get it later on in the day. But for now, I think things remain quite quiet. Thank you very much.